Hello everyone, this is Tom Fox. I'm the Compliance Evangelist, and I'd like to welcome you to the December edition of my 2017 One Month to a More Effective Compliance Program podcast series, where each month I take a deep dive into a specific part of a best practices compliance program. In the month of December, I'm taking a deep dive into better written standards, which form the very backbone of your compliance program. Written standards include codes of conduct, policies, and procedures, and we're going to be taking a very deep dive into the design of all of these, training, and revising and updating. We'll also take a look at the information communicated by the Department of Justice on what specific policies should be included in your best practices compliance program, including policies on gifts, travel, business entertainment, charitable donations, facilitation payments, third parties, and cybersecurity. We'll also take a look at certain enforcement actions and opinion releases to see what other information we can glean from these. My sponsor this month is my Doing Compliance Masterclass. We recently concluded the first masterclass in November 2017. I'm co-hosting this with Jonathan Marks at Markham LLC. We will be putting on a full series of classes in 2018. Check back for details. This month's podcast series will give you information which will allow you to set up the very foundation of your compliance program. My podcast series on 1 month to a more effective compliance program is a part of the Compliance Podcast Network. Day 10, policies and procedures on gifts and business entertainment. If one were to reflect upon the providing of gifts and business entertainment to foreign officials, one might reasonably conclude that after 40 years of the FCPA, companies might follow the prescriptions regarding gifts and business entertainment. However, there continue to be notable FCPA enforcement actions in this area. The FCPA guidance, the 2012 FCPA guidance, clearly stated that the FCPA does not ban gifts and entertainment. Indeed, the guidance specified that a small gift or token of esteem or gratitude is often an appropriate way for business people to display respect for one another. Such hallmarks of appropriate gift giving are when the gift is given openly and transparently, properly recorded in the gift giver's books and records, and provided only to reflect esteem or gratitude and permitted under local law. Items of nominal value, such as cab fare, reasonable meals and entertainment expenses, or companies' promotional items are not likely to improperly influence an official, and as a result, without more, such items have not resulted in enforcement actions by the Department of Justice. What does the FCPA itself say? Well, while prohibiting payments of money or things of value to foreign government officials, the FCPA does permit incurring certain expenses on behalf of these officials. There's no de minimis provision. The presentation of a gift or business entertainment expense can constitute a violation of the FCPA if it is coupled with a corrupt intent to obtain or retain business. Under the FCPA, the following affirmative defense regarding payment of expenses exists, and it reads, "It shall be an affirmative defense that the payment of the gift, that payment, gift, offer, or promise of anything of value that was made was a reasonable and bona fide expenditure, such as travel and lodging expenses incurred by or on behalf of a foreign official, party official, or candidate, and was directly related to the promotion, demonstration, or explanation of products or services, or the execution or performance of a contract with a foreign government officials." As with most matters under the FCPA, there's little direct guidance on what may step over the line that's set out in the statute itself. Of course, there's always the gut check test, which simply says, if it feels wrong in your gut's probably wrong. It's something to always keep in mind in any circumstance. So what are some of the specific policies and procedures you should have in place for gifts and business entertainment? So based upon the FCPA language and some very old opinion releases from 1981 and 1982, I would say that it's reasonable that companies can provide gifts of value of up to $500. And there are some guidelines, which what I would suggest incorporating into your policies and procedures regarding gifts. So, what are they? Number one, the gift should be provided as a token of esteem, courtesy, or in return for hospitality. Number two, a gift should be of nominal value, but in no case more than $500. Number three, no gifts in cash. Number four, the gift should be permitted under both local law and the guidelines of the employer of the state-owned enterprise employee or the government agency. Number five, the gift should be a value which is customary for the country involved and appropriate for the occasion. Number six, the gift should be for official use rather than personal use. 7, the gift should showcase the company's products or contain the company's logo. 8, the gift should be presented openly with complete transparency. And number 9, the expense for the gift should be correctly recorded on the company's books as a gift. What about the business entertainment of government officials? Based upon the FCPA language, and unfortunately there are no opinion releases on this point, there is no threshold that a company can establish for a value for business entertainment. As I believe there is a amount you can give up to $500 for gifts, I think the value for business entertainment is going to be not really fixed, but more commensurate with the circumstances. So what should go into your business expenditure policy? Well, number 1, a reasonable balance must exist for the bona fide business entertainment during an official business trip. Number 2, business entertainment expenses must be reasonable. Now, I recognize what's reasonable in Houston, Texas, New York City, Oslo, Beijing, or Benin are very different. So you need to take those into account. The business entertainment expenses must be permitted both under local law and the customer guidelines, whether that customer be a foreign government official's agency, department, or other government unit, or of a state-owned enterprise. 4, the business entertainment expense must be commensurate with local custom and practice. 5, the business entertainment expense must avoid the appearance of impropriety. And 6, the business entertainment expense must be supported by appropriate documentation and properly recorded on the company's books and records. Another way to think through this is the following hypothetical, and I utilize this for the city of Houston. So I have a client who wants to take 2 foreign officials to a Houston Astros baseball game. The cost to an Astros baseball game is $75 for the top ticket, so $150, figure $50 for food and drink, maybe $200 per person, but business entertainment. I think that's certainly acceptable. Now, the customer wants to take the employees to the Houston Texans. Now, there the tickets are higher. $400 or $500 is not unusual for a pro football stadium seat. Tack on another 100 or 2 for drink, food. You could be going up to certainly $600, $700. Nevertheless, I think in the context of business entertainment, sporting events still acceptable. Now, as you may know, the Houston Astros won the World Series, and the same client wants to take 2 foreign officials to Game 5 of the World Series, where the minimum scalp price was $1,500 per ticket. Of course, it went much higher. There, however, I think you are going into an area which is not reasonable, $1,500 per ticket, and so I would suggest that that not be approved by compliance. The incorporation of these concepts into your compliance policy is a good first step towards preventing potential violations from arising, but it must be emphasized it is only a first step. There must be procedures to implement these policies. At a minimum, you must require business justification for the business representative requesting to provide the gift or business entertainment. Next, it should be reviewed and approved by a frontline compliance professional. Then, depending on the amount and nature of the request, it may need CCO approval directly. Finally, if there is a compliance oversight committee, it should go to the compliance oversight committee for a final check to make sure everything is in order. These guidelines, coupled with active training of all personnel, not only on the company's compliance program, but on the corporate and individual consequences which may arise if the FCPA is violated regarding gifts and business entertainment are mandatory. It is imperative that such gifts and business entertainment be properly recorded as required under the books and records component of the FCPA. One of the violations alleged in the UT Starcom case was it falsely recorded the trips as training expenses, while the purpose for providing the trips was to obtain and retain lucrative contracts. Finally, and do not ever forget the gut check cast. So what are today's 3 key takeaways? Number 1, gifts and business entertainment continue to plague companies for compliance violations. 2, the key is not the amount listed in the policies and procedures, which requires pre-approval, but it's actually following those policies and procedures. And 3, in the area of document under the books and records, you need to always remember to record gifts and business entertainment as correct expenses. This is Tom Fox. I hope you've enjoyed day 10 of 1 month to better written standards, and I hope you will join me tomorrow for day 11. This is Tom Fox again. Thank you for listening to this episode of 1 month to better written standards in a compliance program. I hope you will join me tomorrow for another episode. If you have listened to this podcast on iTunes, I would ask that you would rate our podcast, as it would help in our rankings and also help get the word out about the only daily podcast which will give you a hint or tip to improve your compliance program. Also, if you have any questions, you can email me at tfox@tfoxlaw.com. This is Tom Fox. Thank you again for listening. I hope you'll join me tomorrow. My podcast series of 1 month to a better compliance program is a part of the Compliance Podcast Network.